Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're going on a journey deep into our own human past. As an anthropologist, I spend a lot of time thinking about how our ancestors adapted to some of the most extreme, unforgiving environments imaginable. I want you to just take a second and imagine waking up in a completely frozen world. You step outside, and literally, as far as the eye can see, it's just snowy mountains, freezing winds, and, well, maybe a few mammoths off in the distance. It's this stunning cinematic landscape for sure, but it's also a landscape of profound scarcity. In this ice age environment, there is no running water. Every single morning, our ancestors woke up to this harsh reality where simply staying hydrated was a daily, high-stakes, life-or-death struggle. Okay, let's dive into this because this is the fundamental question that every single Ice Age family faced the very second they opened their eyes. It wasn't about foraging for berries right away or immediately hunting big game. It was all about this one absolutely critical resource. How do you find liquid water when the entire world around you is locked in solid ice? This wasn't like us groggily waiting for the coffee machine to heat up in the morning. Dehydration and freezing temperatures accelerates fatigue and confusion, which out in an Ice Age landscape is pretty much a rapid death sentence. Finding the answer to this question shaped human behavior, our movement, and really, our very evolution. Section 1. The frozen water paradox. That brings us to a brutal biological reality of living in a climate where you're completely surrounded by frozen water, yet you're somehow dying of thirst. And this brilliantly illustrates the trap that honestly a lot of us might fall into. You might be thinking, well, snow is just water, right? Why not just eat the snow? But eating snow is incredibly deceptive and super dangerous. When you consume snow, your body has to expend a massive amount of its own metabolic energy, its internal heat, just to melt that snow into liquid inside your stomach. This causes a dangerous drop in your core body temperature, which accelerates hypothermia instead of safely hydrating you. So ancient humans quickly learned that the intuitive choice was actually a deadly one. The necessary, smart choice, the only safe choice really, was finding actual liquid water. Section 2. Reading the environment. Since they couldn't just eat the snow, they had to bypass this frozen paradox entirely. And doing that required incredible behavioral adaptations and the development of elite observational skills. Early humans became master observers by essentially following nature's clues. It's like a giant puzzle, and they realized very quickly that the animals always knew where freshwater was hiding. If they saw mammoth footprints, they knew those massive creatures were likely carving a path to fresh water, maybe to a river that was still flowing beneath the thick ice. If they spotted flocks of birds, they knew to follow their flight path, because birds often congregate near water sources tucked away in sheltered nearby valleys. And even in the bleakest, whitest snow, spotting small green bushes meant there was underground moisture present. They didn't just wander aimlessly, they literally read the landscape like a map. But finding the water was really only half the battle. There was a terrifying reality they had to face. Water attracts absolutely everything. Fresh water meant fresh life. Yes, it meant humans could drink, and it meant prey animals would gather there, which made these partially frozen lakes and rivers highly valuable places to set up camp. But it also meant that apex predators like packs of massive Ice Age wolves were coming to drink too. Getting a drink of water wasn't a casual stroll. Actually, finding water was never completely safe. It required constant courage, strategic planning, and someone always standing on high alert by the fire to watch the tree line. Section 3. Tools, fire, and patience. Of course, nature didn't always provide easy clues, and sometimes the rivers were just frozen completely solid. That's when early humans had to shift from being passive observers to active engineers. When liquid water wasn't readily available, they had to rely on painstaking physical methods. We're talking about sheer human ingenuity here. They used heavy stone tools to carefully break through incredibly thick river ice just to reach the flowing currents underneath. When that wasn't an option, they sought out caves. Caves often have warmer microclimates where ice slowly melts from the ceiling. I want you to imagine standing in a dim, freezing cave, holding a carved stone bowl, waiting to collect water drop by agonizing drop. It teaches us a really profound anthropological lesson. To them, every single drop of water mattered. Absolutely nothing was ever wasted. They shared what they gathered because every single drop represented immense effort. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the massive technological leap it represents. Mastering fire provided a revolutionary solution to the water problem. Instead of risking hypothermia by eating snow, they could engineer their own liquid water. The steps were simple but required tremendous patience. Build a campfire, pack a stone pot with snow, and just wait for the flames to do the work. It took significant time spent surviving out in the bitter cold, but it worked. It allowed them to hydrate safely without dropping their core temperature, proving that human survival deeply rewarded patience and technological innovation. Section 4. The ultimate survival strategy. We talked about tools and we talked about reading the environment, but none of that is the most important factor in this climate adaptation puzzle. The real secret weapon, it was intergenerational knowledge. Our ancestors never traveled blindly. Every single journey was carefully planned. The elders of the group were basically the ultimate hard drives of their time. They had memorized the location of every hidden spring, every cave, and every valley that held water. And they definitely didn't keep this information to themselves. They meticulously transferred these mental survival maps to the children from a very young age. This continuous chain of teaching and learning meant that a child knew how to survive before they ever even had to face a crisis on their own. So the crucial point is this. When we think of prehistoric survival, we often imagine brute strength. Who was the strongest or who was the fastest? But muscles and speed don't melt ice. They don't remember where a hidden spring is located in the middle of a blinding snowstorm. Intelligence became humanity's greatest weapon. It was their creativity, their ability to observe everything, remember everything, and teach it to the next generation that actually kept humanity alive in the coldest places on Earth. And that intelligence fostered really profound social bonds. In an ice age, one mistake, one wrong turn in a blizzard could mean the end of everything. Therefore, teamwork mattered more than ever. Nobody survived alone. Actually, scratch that. The whole romanticized idea of a lone wolf surviving a harsh wilderness is a total myth. Human survival relied on deep social cohesion, moving as a unified team, helping each other, and sharing that single stone bowl of gathered water. Our adaptability as a species is inherently social. Let's move to and see how this builds directly to you and me. Every decision they made, every dangerous journey to a frozen river, every lesson passed down from an elder sitting around a campfire, it all mattered. Survival wasn't just luck. You're watching this explainer today because thousands of generations of human beings absolutely refused to give up. They kept moving forward, relying on knowledge, teamwork, and an endless daily search for water to ensure the survival of their families, and ultimately our entire species. Which leaves us with this final thought. Our ancestors survived the ice with creativity, shared knowledge, and just unyielding teamwork. They adapted to arguably the harshest conditions our planet has ever seen. So as we face our own modern environmental and social challenges, what will future generations say about how we adapt today? Will we use our intelligence and our ability to work together as effectively as they did? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep exploring, keep learning, and I look forward to diving into another incredible topic with you next time.